Hello and welcome to this week's show. My guest today is a man who has arguably done it all in our profession. He's an author, he's been a coach, he's been a seminar host, a radio personality, as well as having had multiple million-dollar practices in all different genres: subluxation-based, functional medicine, regenerative medicine, weight loss, and in different cities and in different markets. I hope you enjoyed listening to my interview with Dr. Rob Kuhn. Hello and welcome to Secrets of My Success, part of For the Love of Chiropractic podcast series. On each episode, I'll be interviewing one highly successful doctor or business person, asking them what are their 3 keys of success or secrets they've used to make themselves so highly successful. So let's get started with today's show. I had the opportunity to catch up with Dr. Rob Kuhn on the phone the other day. Rob, are you there?
I am. Hey, it's great to be with you today.
It is great to chat with you. And you shared so many wonderful things in the introduction. But remind me, how many years have you been in practice? Or how many years have you been a chiropractor?
Yeah, so I graduated from Parker Chiropractic College in 1998. And just because of the timing of when I graduated and when I could take state boards and part 4 of my national boards, I didn't start practicing until 1999. But I started right into my own practice right out of school, so I did not associate with anybody. Just kind of took the chance, went on my own. So I opened my own practice in 1999, and I've been going for 26 years. And we can get into this a little bit more later if you want to. At this point right now, I still do own a business, but I'm not actually seeing patients. I've got a team running that. We've got 3 different clinics. We're really focusing on weight loss right now, but we can get back to that if that's something you want to talk about.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we will. But so what I want to ask you is, because again, in the introduction, you went through and listed the different businesses that you have and do own. So one of the things that I've learned is that the business of business really doesn't change too terribly much, regardless of what the business is, whether it's a dry cleaner, a restaurant, a chiropractic office. The fundamentals of business and the philosophy behind it tend to be very, very similar. Would you agree with that?
I do. And I'm actually really glad you said that, because one of the things that I think a lot of chiropractors suffer from is they do practice management programs, which is a great thing. I've done all of them. You probably have too. That's a great thing. But practice management is not business management. Right. So I really agree with what you just said, because the business side of it is so important. So go ahead, please.
So let me ask you a question. So in a few minutes, we'll get into your 3 keys of success, but I want to put that aside for just a minute. My question is, with the different businesses that you have started, run, and obviously all of them have been highly successful, what would you say makes them unique? What's the philosophy behind them that's what you bring to the table that then makes them work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And here is, I think, really the most important answer as it worked out in my life. The first part of it is, no matter what type of practice we were running, we knew what we were. And so did the community. So in other words, if we were running a subluxation-based chiropractic, myself and my staff, we knew that that's what we were as a business. That was our entity. We knew we're a subluxation-based chiropractic. And everything we did with our marketing, with our promotion, with the way we communicated with people was to fulfill that mission. So the community understood also what we were. And when I transitioned into functional medicine, it was the same thing. There was an actual conversation. All right, guys, this is what we're transitioning into. This is why we're doing it. And this is how we're going to be operating from here forward. And so at that point, we knew we're a functional medicine practice, and our marketing and our communication and our promotion, they were as such. And so the community started to understand that's what we do. And that same concept held true for every single thing that we did as we moved through different phases of my career. So number one, you got to know what you are. And there is actually a drill I take the doctors through in my seminars, and I'll get seasoned, actually pretty successful doctors that go through this drill, and they're like, holy crap, like I didn't realize I really don't know what I do in my office. Like, I don't know what it is I'm promoting. And then the second key that made our offices unique, no matter what phase we're in.
Okay. I want to sidebar before you jump into number two. So would you mind sharing with everybody some of the aspects of that drill that you take doctors through to figure out who they are?
Yeah, for sure. Because what I always tell people is your practice is two entities under one roof. One entity is you're a healthcare center. And the purpose of that entity is to change the lives of every single person that walks in the door that you can possibly help. The second entity under the same roof is you're a business. And the purpose of that business is to make money and to make profit. And so many doctors are completely negligent about the second part of it. They don't even really realize like how important it is to be cash flowing and profiting every single month. But a lot of them, they're kind of a jack of all trades. So even in their doctoring part of it, they think, well, I'm a quote unquote chiropractor, but they're promoting every single technique, every single condition, every single thing under the sun. And if you actually go on some of these guys' websites or gals' websites, they actually look like they're a jack of all trades. You got to focus and you got to do the things that you're the best at. And so that's what I help docs uncover in that drill.
I love that. I can't begin to guess how many people are listening to this right now thinking, well, exactly what do I do? And
it's mind-blowing.
When we get to the end of the interview, I am going to ask you to share with everybody at that point how they can get in touch with you if they would like to do that. But let's keep going. So, okay, so knowing who you are and what you do is number one, and I love that. So what's number two? What's the next thing that you were about to jump into?
Yeah, you ready for this one? It's so cliche, and it might not even sound sexy, but here it is. The bottom line is, no matter what phase that we were in throughout my career, when we decide to go for it, we're going to dominate the market. And that's just bottom line. And that is my mindset. And that is the mindset that I instilled in my team. So it was absolutely their mindset. And that takes buy-in and it takes being able to deliver the goods. But once you've done that for just a little while and your team starts to see, man, when this guy or this girl says, we're going to do X, Y, Z, damn, we're going to do X, Y, Z. So when Dr. Kuhn says, we're going to dominate, we're going to dominate. And just to give you super quick example, like
Please.
In succession, rapid fire, my first 6 years of my career, I practiced in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where I was raised. I spent most of my life in Phoenix. And then, leaving all the details out, my wife and my kids at that point, we decided to move to Williamsburg, Virginia, new city, new town. And I came in and I looked around at the doctors that were already established here. And I looked at the demographic and I said to myself, this is going to be easy, man. I'm going to rock this place. And then when we became functional medicine, same thing. I looked in my market and I saw what was out there. And I said, I'm about to lay a shock and awe campaign on this market. We're going to dominate this market. When we went into Regen Med, same thing. I said, we are going to be at the top of this market in Regen Med in record time. And it just continued. And that's just the way you have to have your mindset. And super, super really quick story. When I was in my first year in practice, I was at a waiting list practice seminar in Chicago, and Ben Lerner was up on stage speaking. And most people are familiar with Ben. And
oh, sure.
I've got a good relationship with Ben. But at that point, Ben was a few years ahead of me in practice. I was just starting. He was already established, and not only was he established, he was just kicking ass. Let's just say what it was. And he was kind of my idol. And I was like, man, I got to meet this guy. And there was about 1,000 people at this seminar. Back then, in those days of waiting list practice, they were huge.
Sure.
And I walked down to the front of the room and I waited for him to get off stage. And I was like nervous to talk to him. And he walked off the stage and I looked at him and said, hey, Ben, I'm Dr. Kuhn. I'm from Phoenix. I'm a brand new doc. Just started up my own practice. And he looked at me and he goes, okay. And I'm like, yeah, man, I just wanted to meet you. And he goes, listen, attack.
Nice.
And he walked away from me. And I went back home and I wrote the word attack with an exclamation point. And I put the name Ben Lerner on it. Like he gets credit for the quote attack. And I had that in my office for the first few years I was in practice, and I never thought that. And that helped me establish that dominant mindset.
I love that. So once somebody has decided to dominate, I'm going to attack. I'm going to own the market. What are 2 or 3 steps that you would then tell them? Okay, so here's how you begin to do that.
Yeah. So I could give you 10 or 20, right? Let's just stick to 2 or 3. I think that's what you're asking. So, number 1 goes back to what we were just talking about with that drill is you have to know what type of doctor you are and what type of business you're running. You have to know that. So it's the old Stephen Covey concept, begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. If you know who you are, you know what you are, and you know what you're trying to accomplish, and you can see the finished product of that vision before you ever open on day 1, you're already ahead of the game. So that's step 1 is you've got to know who you are and what it is that you're about to do. You got to know that.
Love it.
Now, number 2, and I will be fully honest with you, this is one I fought for a long time. And it's something you see in every leadership book, every business success book. You hear it in every guru, every training. You've got to have a killer leadership team. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in my immaturity and my ego at the beginning of my career, I always hated hearing that. And the reason I hated it is because I just viewed myself as such a powerful type A, just work maniac. I'm going to succeed no matter what, and nobody's going to stop me. My mindset for those first few years was, I don't care who's working with me. I'll drag him if I have to, but we're going to the top of the mountain. That was my mindset. Well, it's true. Like, you've got to have a killer leadership team. So at the beginning of this interview a few minutes ago, when I said currently in my present day practice, I'm like actually not even seeing patients. I've got a COO that has been with me for almost 20 years, and she is amazing. I've got a director of operations, a director of health coaching, a director of sales, a director of innovation. I've got an incredible leadership team that are fully bought into our mission, our vision, what we're doing, and it allows me to be at the point now where I really am just acting as the CEO. I'm working on the business, not in the business. So that's number 2 is you've got to have a killer leadership team. And then the third thing, and this is so critically important, and what I'm about to say is true. It is not the best doctor that wins.
Nope.
It's the best business and the best marketer that wins. So you have to know your KPIs at a granular level. You've got to know them at a granular level. You've got to know business. And that's why earlier I alluded to practice management's great, and it is important. You get your philosophy there. You probably get some procedures there, probably get some scripts there, but they're not going to teach you business management. And I mean, it's funny because I was probably fighting against the grain for the first several years because I was running a super successful practice, but man, I was working my tail off because it was all based on sweat equity, self-belief, mission and vision, and practice management. There was really no business management. I barely understood what KPIs were those first several years.
So for everybody's benefit, define KPI.
So KPI are key performance indicators. So these are your important stats. Now, if you got into the dashboard of our tracking system and you saw how many stats that we keep track of, for newer docs, it would probably blow your mind. For seasoned docs, hopefully you're doing the same thing if you're a well-seasoned doc, but for newer docs, it would blow your mind. We keep track of everything. And, when I said it's not the best doctor that wins, this is another thing. I know you're probably going to agree with me. Throughout my entire career, I have sadly watched some brilliant, extremely talented doctors go out of business and go bankrupt.
Oh, yeah.
So, I know you've had to have seen it too. It's not the best doctor that wins. It's the best businessman, the best marketer. So you have got to understand the business of your business, and you've got to know your KPIs at a granular level. and you've got to be willing to market like crazy. So
Right.
those are my three keys for success.
Right. And I love those. I have a little sidebar. So for the doctor who is a great doctor, I mean, he or she is the greatest doctor, but they're not about KPIs, and they're not about business, and they're not about hiring, training, firing, marketing. That's fine. You know what you should do? What do you say they should do?
Well, there's one of a few routes they could go. They could hire a great office manager that's going to do that. Like my COO, we've kind of grown up together in business, but man, she runs the show.
Yep.
She runs the show. I mean, I'm the CEO, but my job is being the visionary. I'm the one that comes up with the ideas, and everybody ultimately answers to me, and ultimately I'm responsible for everything. But my COO, man, excuse the term, she's a badass. Like she runs the show. She's in charge. So if you're the brilliant doctor, like you just said, and you're not into the business management side of it, you need to hire somebody that can do that.
Or go to work for some company where somebody else is doing all that. And if you don't want all that, that's okay. Then take a job just being a great doctor, but no, you're giving up the upside, which is being the business owner.
I agree with you 100%. Sometimes for some people, and this is that what you just said, it just reminded me of a funny story. Sometimes being an associate doctor and working for another company, sometimes that's a great move. I had one of my associates I had probably 10 years ago. We were sitting back one day in the office, and I was dealing with some really stressful stuff at the point. And my doctor, he had already had 2 practices that did not succeed, and he was a phenomenal associate doctor. He was a fantastic chiropractor. Mm-hmm. And he was sitting there watching me stress out. And he goes, you know what? He goes, you know what, Doc? I got to be real honest. He goes, I love working for you, man. He goes, because you have to worry about all that garbage. He goes, all I've got to do is see patients. And at the end of the day, when it's time to clock out, I go home and I don't have to think about all that stuff. That's your job. And so you're right. Like sometimes that is the better option.
Right. Well, right. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. And you have to be okay with knowing and owning you will never make more money than your boss.
For sure.
For sure.
And you'll never have the freedom your boss has either.
Right. Well, exactly. Right. And, and money is not the be all end all. It's not the end metric. It's the reward for, being a great servant.
Absolutely.
If you serve bigger and own the company, well, you get rewarded bigger.
That's for sure.
So I love your 3 keys of success. So having said that, is there anything else that you want to add on? Because we started with the question of what makes your businesses unique, and we naturally transitioned into your 3 keys of success. Anything else you want to add at this point before I ask you 3 final questions?
Yeah, I'd say another major key for success is you have got to be working on you every day of your life. And I'm really glad you asked that, because the first 90 minutes of my day, every day, it's all about me. Mm-hmm. So I get up, I exercise, I read scripture, I read something out of a personal development book or a business book, I journal, I listen to uplifting music. I do not look at my phone. Mm-hmm. I will not read a text. I will not read an email. I will not open an app. The first 90 days is nothing but filling my body, my mind, and my spirit with positivity, positive energy, uplifting information, and things that light my soul on fire. And no matter what level of success you reach in your life, you're always going to need that, because what happens is we, and I hope this answer is not getting too long, but I'll finish it real quick.
No,
what happens is, at various times in your life, even when you're super successful, you're going to hit a low point and you're going to run into a wall. It's going to happen no matter what, no matter how good you are. And you're going to spend a little bit of time toiling, and then you're going to break through that wall, and you're going to climb the stairs, and you're going to get up to another new level of success. And you're going to be there for a while, and then you're going to run into another brick wall. You're going to hit that one. You're going to toil. you're going to go up another staircase to another level of success. Well, eventually what you start to realize is those brick walls that you run into, those used to be what you considered success.
Yep.
But now you're climbing the ladder and you're getting higher and higher. So you've always constantly got to be working on yourself, because you're constantly peeling back layers of the onion. New paths, new visions, new insights are being revealed to you, and you've got to continue to grow with it, to roll with it. So that's another major factor for me, is that first 90 minutes of every day. That sets my day up for sure.
Right. I love that. I couldn't agree more. It's how I start my day, and it wouldn't surprise you how many successful doctors have said something very similar to that. So, but I want to ask you a totally different question, a little bit out of left field. So, with the huge success that you've seen and the coaching that you do and the multiple businesses that you've owned, run, here it is 2025. Can a young doctor getting out of school today, or someone who's in practice now but just hasn't found success yet, is it still possible to become a huge success now?
1,000% yes. And I'm so glad you added on the second half of that question. So let's take the first half. New docs coming right out of school, absolutely, positively, you can be a massive success. And I'm seeing it. I've met some young docs that have come to my seminars that are in their first or second year, and they have blown my mind. I'm really seeing it. And the second half of that equation, somebody that's been in practice for a while, I also see that. And I've not only have I helped people, but I've seen them do it through other different paths and other practice management programs. I've seen docs that have been in school for 25 years and never really hit what they would consider their stride or big levels of success, and all of a sudden just finally break through. So the answer is 1,000% yes. Now, it doesn't matter where you're at. Like, it would have been better to be successful yesterday. But if you're not there yet, start today, right? Like, one of the things Tony Robbins always said that I loved is, when would now be a good time to be successful?
Right.
Right. So again, it all goes back to self-belief, especially. It doesn't matter whether you're the young doc right out of school or whether your doc has been in practice 15, 20, 25 years, haven't hit your stride yet. You've got to believe in yourself like no other. You've got to have the vision, and you've got to have the plan, and you have to execute.
Absolutely.
And it's really interesting, because even where I'm at today, I do see myself as somebody that's good at all of those things. But as I review, and I do very frequent review of my performance, of myself, of my company, when I review, I find weaknesses. I go, yeah, you know what? We're not actually executing over there as good as I thought we were. We're not actually planning over here as good as I thought that we were. So yeah, absolutely. A young doc, a seasoned doc, anybody can have success. If you believe that you can do it, you can do it. And the absolute, the truth is, somebody that will not quit cannot be stopped.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question, switching gears, because our time is running low, unfortunately. How do you define business success?
So in my opinion, you've got a successful business when you know your numbers, you cash flow every month, so you're profiting every month, and you actually have an asset that you can sell. When you've got that, you've got a successful business. Now, the caveat would be, and I'm not going to go into the personal side of this just yet, because you might ask me about that, but the caveat would be that successful business that is an asset, it should make you happy. If you've got something that you do know your numbers and you do cash flow every month and you do actually have an asset that you can sell, but you hate your life, you hate going to the place every day, that's not a successful business. But if you do have all those factors in place, you cash flow, you know the numbers, you've got an asset that you can sell, and it lights you on fire, you love going there, you got business success, friend.
And then, yes, you saw right through me, because my next question is going to hit home. That's business success. How do you define personal success?
So this is really like, we could spend an entire different podcast talking about this question, but I believe personal success is when you are happy and you're healthy in multiple areas of your life. Your primary relationships, for me, that really means with your significant other and your posterity, your children, your connection with God or your creator, whatever that means to you. You have a sustaining business. You have a fit, healthy body. And, the reason why I think those are so important, the sustaining business and the fit, healthy body, is because when you wrap that all up into a ball of wax, the great relationships with your family, your relationship with your creator, all those things, the one concept I've really tried to pass on to my kids, and I say kids, they're all adults, but I've told all three of my boys for their entire life, the two most important things you're ever going to have in your life are your money and your health. Now, when some people hear that, they're going to want to argue that tooth and nail. What do you mean money? Money's not everything. Money can't make you happy. Well, the fact is we live on an economic planet, and you cannot do anything without money. You can't enjoy your family without money. Well, yes, you can. You can go do a picnic. You can do things that don't cost money, but you can't take a really nice trip if you don't have money. Right. You can't have a house to put your family in and keep them safe and protected without money. And then health is the same thing. It's just a different commodity, right?
Yep.
If you don't have health, you can't enjoy your family. What if your family all want to go walk around Disney World for the day or Busch Gardens, or they want to walk on the beach, and you can't do it because your knees or your hips or your back fail you so badly, or you're so out of shape and unhealthy that you can't do it. So your money and your health are two of the most important things you're ever going to have. So for me, personal success, it's having the whole ball of wax. It's the great relationships with your family. It's the connection with God. It's having a successful business. It's having money so you don't have to worry about things. For me, that's personal success.
I love that. So, Rob, if somebody has listened to this episode and they go, man, you know what? This guy's got it. Like, you know what? Now is the time for me. I am ready to become successful. What's their first step?
So the easiest way you can, are you talking about getting in touch with me, or just
no? I'm going to ask you that in just a second. I'm saying they've drawn a line in the sand and said, I'm done with mediocrity. What do I do right now?
I love this question, and here it is. Here's the answer. How long do I have? 30 seconds?
You got 30 seconds.
All right, here it is. Make a decision. Now, that sounds like a no-brainer, right? But here's the thing. People think they make decisions every day. You haven't made a decision until you've gotten to a point where you say, you know what? No more, no longer. You think you're going to quit smoking? If you say I'm going down to 5 cigarettes a day, then 3. No, you're not. You're not quitting smoking. You're not quitting smoking until you get to the point where you go, I'm never having another cigarette again. I'm done with it. I can't stand being unhealthy. I'm done being unsuccessful. I'm done being mediocre. I'm finished. I'm going to create this vision. I'm going to get there, and I will not stop until there has been no other outcome except for me establishing that vision that I set out for myself. When you get to that point, then you've made a true decision. So you make that true decision, you create that vision, you begin with the end of the mind and the end in mind, and you start executing, start talking to the right people, start figuring out who knows what you need to know. Start learning, but just take action every single day towards that plan until it's established, and it will be done unto you.
I love that. And we are way over for where we should be on time. So my last question is, and I really appreciate your time. I can't thank you enough. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, to get coaching and assistance from you, how do they do that?
Yeah, even if you don't want coaching, if you just want to ask me a question or you want to find out about my free webinar series, just email me. My email is Dr. Rob, that's DRROB, Dr. Rob at cox.net, COX.net. And you can email me, just say, hey, I've got a question, or, I'd like to find out about your free webinar series. And if you just email me and connect with me, I'll tell you about that. And I'll tell you about our big blowout seminar we're doing this fall, all that stuff. So just send me an email.
Dr. Rob Kuhn, I can't thank you enough for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and just your passion for success in business. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure for me too. I appreciate you having me on. Have a great day.
All right. And that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.